Welcome back to Great Moments in Birthism and the Columbus, Georgia courtroom of the Honorable Clady Land. I'm your host Epictetus. When we were together last, we witnessed the imaginary visit of Lucas Smith to Mombasa, Kenya. The story is that he took a side trip from dinosaur hunting in the Congo, flew to Kenya, bribed a military policeman, and then was given a certificate signed by the wrong person who couldn't even spell their own first name.
That's my story. And I'm sticking to it.
This document, known widely as the POSFKBC, would become the centerpiece of the battle of wills about to erupt in Judge Land's courtroom. And it all began with a question from the judge. But it was not the question that Orly was interested in answering.
Dr. Tates, explain to me the procedure that you contend you have followed in authenticating this document that you suggest is his actual birth certificate from the records in Kenya. Explain to me whether I'm understanding what you are trying to do correctly.
Yes. It's incorrect.
Okay. Tell me how.
First of all, and the main point is that nobody has ever authenticated what Mr. Obama posted on the internet.
No. That's not my question. You understand, this is a court of law?
Yes, sir.
Where the court has to follow certain federal rules of evidence.
Okay.
I'm not talking about at a press conference, or on a TV show, or on Fox and Friends. Tell me what it is that you've done to establish the evidentiary foundation for this Kenyan document.
Your Honor, if you will give me a minute to explain, I will. But you are not giving me.
Because whenever I give you a minute, you want to go off into these talking points about something else. I want to focus in directly about what you have done, under the federal rules of evidence, to authenticate this document.
If you can give me a minute, again, I will explain. As Dr. Rhodes explained, they have not seen Mr. Obama's hospital birth certificate.
That's not my question. That is not my question. My question is focused solely at this point on the document that you produced, that you claim came from Kenya.
Your Honor, if you decided for yourself that you will not let me speak, and you will not grant us TRO, then we're just wasting time.
Yes, you heard that correctly. That was the sound of sanctions.
You have nothing, Your Honor. How can you attack me, and saying that I did not obtain proper authentication, when you are not saying a word to those three attorneys that provided zero authentication of some piece of garbage that Mr. Obama posted on the internet? It was never authenticated by anybody. Nobody said that this piece of garbage is a document.
Yes. She really said that too.
Ma'am? How did you obtain the document that you claim comes from Kenya?
The person who has submitted this document.
No. You submitted it in this court.
Yes.
And therefore, you have made the representation, under Rule 11, that you have made some investigation. I want to make sure I understand this, because you have left the impression with me that this witness bribed an official in Kenya in order to obtain this document that you have submitted as evidence in this court. If that's not the impression that you tried to leave, then I'll let you straighten that out on the record.
I would like to straighten it out. To me, the fact that our judiciary after 100 lawsuits were filed, and our judiciary in many cases, and our U.S. attorney and judge are unwilling to provide the citizens of this country with documents that shows.
No, ma'am. That's just another speech. That may work fine out on the front steps of the courthouse when the press is listening, but that is not an answer to my question. I gave you the opportunity to dispute the fact that this sounded like a bribe, and you did not wish to answer that question.
Well, Your Honor, my concern is that it shows bias. Then you are asking me, how was Mr. Obama's hospital birth certificate authenticated, the one that was received from Kenya? And yet you did not ask those three attorneys, how in the world did they authenticate Mr. Obama's birth certificate from United States? What exactly did those three attorneys authenticate?
I'm not going to respond to everything that you have to say. But this is just so fundamental that I'm having a hard time understanding how you are not grasping it. Who has the burden of proof in a legal proceeding for a temporary restraining order?
Val, yes.
Who has that burden?
The moving party.
Under the law, who has the burden of showing that there is a substantial likelihood that you will be able to prove the denial of a constitutional right? Who has that burden? You or the government?
I do.
Who has the burden of establishing that the President of the United States is not eligible to hold that office? Who has that burden? You or the government?
Well, I have.
Who is it?
I have this burden. However,
All right. You have that burden, and I'm attempting to elicit from you how you have carried that burden. And the response I get from you is not, here is evidence that allows me to carry this burden. The response I get is, Your Honor, you should shift that burden to the government to prove that he is the legitimate commander-in-chief. Now, that may be a good argument politically. But that is not the burden in a legal judicial proceeding. You have that burden. But you may go ahead, and I'll give you 5 minutes to make a rebuttal argument. Uninterrupted.
Big mistake. He gave her 5 minutes. She went on to take 15. 15 fabulous minutes of mind-numbing, soul-stealing, law-ignoring, thought-twisting, constitution-crushing conspiracist moon battery. It was the moment she was waiting for. It was the chance to deliver. Orly's soliloquy. Join us next time for our grand finale and final installment in the court case of Rhodes vs. MacDonald. When I will do everything under my power, so you don't have to hear Lucas Smith say,
Hotter. Wetter. Tighter. Hornier.
Before I sign off, I wanted to give a shout out to fellow Service Academy graduate Wally Fitzpatrick. I'm not sure where you are tonight, Walt. But I hope it's back in jail. Good night.